everyone! My name is Jennifer Stay. This is Coloring Bliss and welcome! We are back in our art studio back here in Salt Lake Valley. So glad to be with you. So glad to be back with my beautiful art supplies. And today we are here to talk about a couple of really fun art supplies. We've been doing our two-part weekly live event, so I highly recommend you join us for both parts. The first part tonight was over on Facebook, where we spent the first hour talking about the new Illustrator markers. They're not that new, but they are relatively new. The new Illustrator markers by Spectrum Noir. And we've been testing them, so I'm going to get you caught up all about these markers and what we think of them so far. And we'll do a little bit of coloring with them here, and then the rest of the evening we're going to spend talking about watercolor palettes. I've got a new one that I recently purchased and I haven't had time yet to crack into it, so we're going to open it up and play around a little bit with that palette. I was just thinking, I don't think I have any water sitting with me. I'll have to get some so that we can get that out and paint with it a little bit. So I'll talk to you a little bit from a colorist perspective, what I look for in a watercolor palette, just to kind of give you some ideas of what to look for. And there's some things I've been seeing on Instagram that have gotten me really excited about watercolor that I'm going to tell you a little bit about as well. So the first thing we're going to do tonight is talk about these markers right here. I want to say a special shout out, thank you to Spectrum Noir for sending me these markers. I've had a lot of money spent lately on alcohol-based markers, so it was really helpful when Spectrum Noir reached out and said, can we send you some of these markers so you can compare them? And I was so grateful because my budget is blown on alcohol markers lately, and so thank you so much, Spectrum Noir. And I want to reassure all of you that when a company reaches out to me like that, I'm always very open with them and tell them that, sure, I would love some of your products, but please know that I'm going to tell them that you sent them to me, and I'm going to be very honest with them about my feelings about your products, and if they're good with that, then we move forward with them sending me products. So that's the deal that I had with Spectrum Noir, so thank you, Spectrum Noir. And now we get a chance together as a coloring community to look at these markers and compare them with things like the Copic markers and the Ohuhu markers. So we can see how a marker that's about $3 a marker compares to markers that can be $6 a marker, all the way down to a marker that's like 50 cents to $1 per marker, and just kind of see how they land and help you pick out what you want to purchase moving forward. So let's show you what I've learned so far. I'm going to change the view here for you so you can see. These are all of the little tests that we've been doing so far. They sent me 2 packs of markers. Like I said, they're running about $3 per marker was what I was seeing. And Spectrum Noir is really good at putting together box sets. So the 2 box sets that they sent me was the basics and the tints. So a tint is a color plus white. So you get these nice light colors. When you're coloring with alcohol markers, it's super important to have really light colors so that you can get a good blend. It's not like watercolor where you can add water to something and lighten the color. You've got to have those light colored markers. We were talking about that with the Ohuhus. Remember how I was frustrated that there weren't enough light colors in those Ohuhu markers? So it's really nice to see that Spectrum Noir is taking good care of us with their light colors. So I've got the basics and I've got the tints here. Spectrum Noir has had alcohol markers for a long time. This is what they have typically looked like. They're hexagon in shape, and they have always had a nice chisel on one side and a little bullet tip on the other side. And they have replacement nibs, and they have refills as well. Now, everybody was telling me over on Facebook that they don't have refills yet for this system, and they don't have replacement nibs yet for this system. But knowing Spectrum Noir the way that we know them, I'm guessing that eventually, if this product has enough interest from all of us, I'll bet they'll have a refill type system to back up this set of markers. Now I know there's a lot of colors available in this system. Let's see, 216 blendable colors available in this system. So that's pretty impressive that they have filled this color rainbow out so well for us. So thank you for doing that, Spectrum Noir. So let's look at this one here, and you can see that this one's also hexagonal in shape. It's a little bit different than their original one. This one's like a true hexagon, and this one's kind of a squashed hexagon. I like the hexagon. They don't roll on your desk, so that's nice. They have the color name here and here, but they don't have the color name on the body, in case that's of interest to you. I like having the color names on the bodies. The Copics do. Copics have the color names on the caps and on the body so that you can get the right caps back onto the right bodies. So I've always appreciated that. Let's see. They have this beautiful brush nib, which, as we've been testing it over on Facebook, the nib itself looks a lot like the Copic one, very similar, and it's feeling and performing very similar to the Copic nib as I've been playing around with them here on my paper. This is some really good smooth, thick, dense cardstock that I love to use with my markers here. It's working really well and feels very similar to the Copic markers. So they've done really well with this nib. Now, I haven't actually done some serious coloring with these yet, so I don't know how long the nibs are going to work. It's one of the things we love about the Copic markers. Those nibs last a long time if you take good care of them. Remember, to take good care of a brush nib, you need to use the right paper, a very smooth paper, and you need to keep your markers juicy. As soon as your markers get a little bit dry, that's when your brush nibs will start to wear down faster. So make sure you have a juicy marker and good paper, and your nibs are going to last as long as possible. Now on the other end, unlike the Copics, you get a bullet nib. So that's more like a Prismacolor brush marker. On the Prismacolors, you get a brush nib, bullet nib. Oh, I hate how hard those are to pull off. Let's see how similar those are. It's a little bit different. I'll show you the difference between the bullet nib on the Prismacolor and the bullet nib on the Illustrator Spectrum Noir. So you get, that's kind of a nice combination. I like that. You get the brush nib and you get a bullet nib for doing fine details. So that's what you get in the Illustrator markers, and like I said, they're running at about $3 per marker, so they're a little bit higher in cost, and I'm hoping eventually they'll have an entire system to support these markers. That will make them even better in my estimation if they will come up with a nice system for them. Like I said, I'm kind of thinking I bet Spectrum Noir will do that if they are a popular enough product for them. So that's what these markers are. We've been playing around with, this is the Prismacolor's colorless blender, and it was reacting really well. I was able to remove the ink and do some texture with that marker, so you can play around with that. One other thing of note is they are quite smelly. So if you are scent sensitive at all, they are much more smelly than the Copics. I had Steve, he's my smellometer man. I had him smell compared to the Tombow ABT Pros, the Copics, and the Ohuhus, and these were by far the most smelly, according to Steve. So I know a lot of you are like me, and if you're around a strong smell for too long, it will make your head pain a lot higher. So please be aware of that. If that's a problem for you, then these you'll want to stay away from for that purpose. Okay, so we did a little bit of blending here, and those two blended together beautifully. So let's do some more coloring. Is there any questions or anything that I missed as I was catching up our YouTube family with everything that went on over on Facebook? I'm just going to flip through here.
Although Mark did just say that I saw Artisa has 120 colored pencils now. What are they like? Are they worth buying? Have you ever done a review on them?
The Artis, I believe we have the Artis of Color pencils, and they're just right in the middle. They weren't anything spectacular, but they weren't terrible either. I'm trying to find a page here that we can color and get some blends together. This is this Holiday Bliss book here. You can order if you're interested off coloringbliss.com. All of our books are customizable, so if you want a book like this, you can order it and have it printed on, like if you want to buy the Artis of Color pencils and you want a book all printed on color pencil paper so you can use your new Artis of Color pencils, you can do that. This one I had printed on marker paper. That's why I wrote marker right here. And then I can use all my pretty alcohol markers in here without worrying about wearing down the nibs. And I can just go to town blending and having a great time in here. Ooh, let's color some candy. We've got some really bright colored markers here they sent me. So let's do that one. I'm going to take this out. Oh, I'm going to throw some paper around here. Let's put this page. Remember, alcohol markers almost always bleed. It doesn't matter how thick and beautiful your paper is, it will almost always bleed. So you want to remember to put some sort of blotting page underneath it to catch that bleed through, so you don't have a problem with your page underneath it. So we'll just use that as my blotting page, and let's see how these perform. Let's make this little thing green. I've got that green, and I guess we'll do duck egg. Oh, how about yellow? Let's go green to yellow. That would be a pretty blend. Okay, let's see if we can make this work. And do some real life coloring here. So I'm going to try it just a straight up coloring here first. What's going on? Okay. I saw the nib. The nib looks green on the yellow one, and I was like, did I get two greens? I thought I had a green and a yellow. Okay, and then we'll go yellow this way. Oh yeah, this is a very yellowy green. So I would love to hear from those of you that have these markers. We were talking a little bit about this over on Facebook. How long is your ink lasting? And how long are your nibs lasting? That's the question I always have about these markers, because I want, if you're going to buy a marker that costs $3 per marker, it better last a long time, right? Okay, that's looking pretty. I want that to dry for a minute now, and then we'll come back to it. I keep having this problem because the marker is, it feels like you should be able to put that cap on at any angle, but you have to line up those hexagonal shapes just so, like that. So that's just me having to learn this new product. Let's do a blue and a blue, shall we? This is duck egg and true blue. You see what I mean about caps go everywhere when I'm coloring? I don't even like consciously think I'm going to throw caps everywhere. It just happens. Okay, let's do this one. Blue, like this. And I'm going to try to bring the light blue up higher this time. Like that. And see how it goes. Flick, flick, flick. You always have to practice your flicks with brush nibs. So anybody have any feedback for me on how their markers are lasting? That one turned out pretty.
Yeah, Donna says that her nibs aren't lasting long.
That's not good to hear.
And yeah, the cap isn't easy to put on.
Well, it's not just me. Okay, let's try suntan to nectarine. Okay, let's do this little gumdrop over here. Wow, Rose is just really asleep over here. Traveling is hard work, wears you out. Listen to her. What do you guys ask? Are you guys asking for anything fun art supplies for Christmas? Just trying to think what I would like for Christmas, other than I already have an RV. That was kind of our Christmas present to each other, was that RV. We opened it early.
Yeah.
Okay, that blue needs just a little bit more. Remember, I think I said this already on here, that alcohol markers are a wet art medium, so you want to go back after it's had time to dry and revisit it and see if it needs any more blending. That's very normal, to let it just kind of settle into the fibers and go back and help it a little bit more. Okay, I wanted to try this poppy red to this blossom color. Now I put links to all these products in the video description, so you can go check it out. Let's do this bigger one now so you can see how a bigger one. Let's do...
Kelly says I asked for Coloring Bliss stuff.
Oh, fun!
Elaine wants Amazon gift cards.
Oh yeah, then you can just get whatever you want.
Donna says I bought myself the Artis 120 set of colored pencils. They actually color better. I love the new colors.
Awesome! Maybe I'm going to have to get those.
Tika says her Christmas wish is washi tape and a heat gun.
Ooh, fun.
Cali art is on Anna's list.
Yep, those are really nice markers too. I've been really impressed with all the products Artis has been stepping up with. So maybe I'll have to go check out those pencils you're talking about.
Kelly could use a heat gun too. Angela asked for Spectrum Noir pencils.
Oh yeah. I really like the way the Spectrum Noir packages their pencils. It's really fun and inspiring.
Anna's still on a mission to use up pencils that she already has.
Smart. I finally got to, I used up one of my Prismacolors. I had to replace one Prismacolor. So my goal, I still have it right here in front of me, my 2019 New Year's goal was to use it up and wear it out. So one pencil. But I'm proud of that. So. Oh, well. Oh, dear. That's pretty funny. I'm kind of struggling.
Dory creates says full set of polychromos.
Oh. So, what I'm finding is these markers.
Mary wants the new Cali Arts and the Artisa's metallic paint.
Ooh. Like I said, the Artisa, it's got some fun things going
Donna
on.
wants the new Ohuhu alcohol large brush set when they come out.
Yeah. They've been teasing about it on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aspie wants some artistic talent.
You've got more than you think. That's
Kelly
funny.
is thinking about that glass mat too.
Yeah, this one here, I missed it in our rig. I'm kind of thinking that might be something. Although if it slipped and fell, the one we've got in the rig, that cheaper plastic one, it kind of grips itself static or something, and it holds on to that table. So when we're traveling down the road, it doesn't budge. We don't have to tape it down or move it or anything. So can't
Deanna's
beat
moving
that.
soon, so she just wants that to be over for her Christmas present.
Oh, I wish I could.
And the other 158 Copic sketch.
Uh-huh.
Angela had to replace her white Prismacolor pencil.
Ooh, congratulations.
Robin wants the 358 Copic refills.
Oh, that would be so fun. Wouldn't that be fun?
Joyce would like a full set of polychromos or ink tints.
Oh, fun.
Mara agrees with the Copic refills.
Yeah, those would be really fun. It would be fun to have them all laid out in front of you, all those refills.
Donna asked if Ohuhu hinted as to when the new markers are coming out.
No, they released the skin tone set. And I'm guessing all of those colors are going to be in the big set. And they were all very light. And they said in the comments on the Instagram, "We are listening."
Really? Wow.
And I was like, oh, yay, I'm so excited. They're actually listening to all of us saying, come on, fewer greens.
Donna says, love your blending skills.
Yeah, it's turning out good. Okay, so that's what we're testing here, right? In the real world coloring here, I wanted to see how they blend. Can we get the colors to come together? So here we haven't gone back and revisited these ones yet. So we're letting them soak into the fibers, and then we'll come back and try to bring those two, the pink and the red, together better. But over here, that green is done pretty good, and the blue's done good, and the orange did really well back here. So we need to, as this is sitting in, can you see how it's, that red is taking over that pink? And it's almost, I wish we could like fast forward and you could watch it. I've done that before after we've recorded something, and I've like set it into fast speed and watched it change. It's really fascinating to see how the colors change as it settles in. So
Kathy just donated to the channel.
Kathy, thank you so much. Thank you. So now we got to get this to blend out. So I'm going back to my light color here. I'm going to try to blend it out, bring the pink color up, and flick over those red flicked lines to try to tone them down and smooth it out more. We'll see if that works.
Robin says she's playing with her Holbeins, but finding a large learning curve with them.
The Holbeins, I still want those. I have a very small set. They were gifted to me by one of you awesome followers, and I would like to play with them more. But yeah, I'm a little scared to play with them more because I think I'm going to want the whole set. It's one of those things where if you dip your toe in, you're probably going to want to just dive all the way in, and I'm afraid to dip my toe in. So yeah. Okay, let's let that sit now and soak in to those fibers and see if that brings that blend together a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to just color a couple more little things here. We haven't tried the purple blend, and we have a couple yellows to try here. And then I think we'll shift gears to watercolor and talk a little bit about watercolor. Because these are blending beautifully. They're blending like I would expect an alcohol marker to blend. The farther apart the tones, the more difficult. You have to revisit and keep helping them come together. That's normal. Having good paper, that helps. So they're doing and performing exactly the way I would expect a good alcohol marker to perform. So so far I can recommend them. They feel a little bit pricey still. This is the same complaint I had with Tombow markers. If you're going to have a marker that is at this price point, kind of expect them to have a system, don't you think? With refills and nibs to support them. Like the Blick brush tip markers, the Blick brush tip markers have fewer colors available though. And this one had how many colors? I'm still astounded by the number of colors. 216 colors, which is I think twice as many colors than the Blick brush tip markers have. So that's amazing. But they don't have refills, where the Blick brush tip markers have refills and brush nibs to support that system. And the Blick ones are a little less money per marker. So if they would step up and have refills and brush nibs, and they're performing this well, that's a winner. because then now we're right smack in the middle between Ohuhu's, Cali Arts are down here in price, and Copics and Prismacolors, and they're all up here. So now we've got a good mid-range with twice as many colors to pick from than Blick.
Yeah.
That's a game changer. Interesting.
Now, Pam says the illustrators do have refills. I love mine. Are they refills or are they just open stock replacements? That would be the question.
Very good
'Cause
questions.
I saw the open stock replacements, but I didn't see refills on the site. But
So it's good that they have open stock, which we'd expect from Spectrum Noir. But the refills, we need the refills.
and they're,
give me refills.
a couple have been mentioning that Holbein has announced that 2020 they're planning on bringing those to the U.S. So maybe they went through their testing and everything they needed to do.
All right, that's good news. Okay, let's do a purple gumdrop here. Oh, I haven't had any spiced gumdrops yet this year for Christmas. Been too busy traveling. Picking oranges off of trees in Mesa. I brought home a small bag of oranges from the trees in Mesa. I need to go eat them before they go bad. You know, you kind of squirrel them away and you don't want to eat them and save them, and then they'll go bad. And so I just need to go and eat them and just enjoy them while they're still good. Okay, that's that purple. And now let's test this yellow. We've got two yellows. Canary and Moonlight. Moonlight. I wonder what color that's going to be. Well, let's give it a whirl and find out. Okay, let's put Canary down first. Uh-oh, let's see if yellow typically, isn't yellow one of the colors that moves the toner sometimes? Let's see if we have toner problems. Oh.
Rinka asked if you've ever tried matching up refills to other marker companies.
I have, and ever so often it works, and usually it's this number right here. If you ignore the names, like this Moonlight name, just ignore that and look for the GY1. That's the name that you want to look for. And the other source is Lindsay the Frugal Crafter. Love Lindsay the Frugal Crafter because she's like a detective and she'll sleuth these things out and she'll tell you what brands cross over like that, and she'll tell you you can go buy this refill and it will work with that brand. So if you go look onto her content, she might have already sleuthed this out for us. So these two are not quite the same tone. We've got sort of a peachy moonlight color and a really bright canary yellow, but that's all right. They're still blending. Yeah, these are great. I think we need to do a little research on this refill conundrum, and then maybe these will become, because 200 and still blown away, 216 colors. That sounds like a lot of full set syndrome fun. Okay, so that's the Spectrum Noir markers. If I were to keep working on this, I would come back again with this PP1 Blossom and go over this. The problem this is this Blossom color is so much lighter than this poppy color. It's hard to pull these two tones together. That's why I'm having to revisit it 3 times to get the tones to come together. But they'll come together. The other way I could have done it was the tip-to-tip technique. There's a lot of tricks to get alcohol markers to behave, to do what we want them to do. I could have put some on here and picked it up. Oh, there's a lot of tips and tricks, but yeah, that's maybe for another day. I think we've also covered those kinds of tips on our partner workshops. If you're interested in learning a lot of details where I slow down. In nights like this, we don't have time to go over so many coloring tips and tricks like that. But with our partner workshops, that's where sometimes we spent like a full month on alcohol markers, where we did like 4 workshops, 4 nights, where all we did was alcohol markers. So if you're interested in that kind of depth of learning about coloring and tools and stuff, come on over to coloringbliss.com and learn all about becoming a partner, and you can learn the cost of it and how we have an archive of all these workshops with worksheets and tons of information there to learn more about coloring. And tomorrow night we're going to be doing more lettering. It's a part 2 of our lettering workshops, and it's going to be lots of fun. So I'd love to have you join us.
I wanted to ask, do the Illustrator markers use different inks than the basics, the black barrel markers?
That's one of my questions was, you know, they have inks for all of these. Are they using the same inks?
Maybe that's where she's going, because she also asked if the nibs are different than those.
The nibs are different. This one is a chisel nib and a very different bullet nib than this bullet nib. So it's a very different nib system that they're using. This is it's a much narrower nib, and it kind of comes straight out and then it points, where this one's more like triangular. How's that for a description? So the nibs are totally different between the 2 marker types, which I think is really smart of Spectrum Noir to give us 2 options. I am not a fan of a chisel nib when it comes to coloring. That's not true. Chisel nibs are not my go-to nib unless I'm coloring a large, like this background section right here where it's just one big open block. That's the perfect area for a chisel nib. But like in here, all of this area, this whole entire candy jar, none of this is where I would use a chisel nib. I would either use this type of nib, a little bullet nib, or I would use a brush nib. Chisel nib is just too big and clunky, and I make way too many mistakes with my chisel nib. So this kind of marker here, where I've got a brush nib that does big wide areas, and then or teeny tiny areas, and then I've got my cute little bullet nib where I can do even tiny areas or lettering. This is my kind of thing. I like that. So that's a good combination. Okay.
Mark asked for the museum aquarelle watercolor papers, or watercolor pencils.
Oh.
And Taryn says, I just got the ink tents. Talk about a learning curve.
Yes, the ink tents is a learning curve. And we've got several videos here on YouTube where we've used the ink tents pencils. And then again on the partner workshops, I think we've done ink tents several times as well.
Anna says, my favorite tip you've ever shared is water-soluble art products on a non-porous surface picked up with a water brush pen. I do that all the time.
Oh, I'm so glad that was helpful. That's fantastic. Yeah, that makes it so great. In fact, I don't know. Is this mean to say this about... No, it's not mean. So I don't know if you guys are on Tombo's email list. They just came out with a workshop, and they're charging $25 for their workshop for a single workshop. And I'm guessing that's the main tip they're going to be teaching is how to take their marker, their Tombow markers. Oh, my Tombos aren't here. They're all put away. I took them with me in my rig, so they're not here. But I think that's what they're going to be teaching, is how to put the Tombow marker onto a non-porous surface, pick it up with either their colorless blender or a brush, and then color with them, paint with them. So I think that's what they're going to be teaching in that workshop. It looked like a really fun workshop, but I don't know. That price seemed a little high for just one workshop to me, but I don't know. I didn't look really close to see what you're getting with the workshop, so I could be wrong. I need to go look closer at that. Okay, let's take a peek at this watercolor palette that I caught. Are we ready to change gears?
Yep.
Okay, let me take a quick drink here and I'll show you this watercolor palette. All right, so this is what I took with me in the rig. So that I was prepared to do this in the RV. I was going to open up the back of our RV and have the sunshine coming in and swatch this palette, and it just we never had time. We're too busy with family. So I have my brushes. This is that set of watercolor brushes that I have been recommending. This I was told about this watercolor brush set from the Frugal Crafter, Lindsay the Frugal Crafter, because it's such a good starter set. So there's a link in the video description to our Amazon storefront. And in that Amazon storefront, I have a watercolor section, I believe. And in that section, I have these brushes linked. And they have been very fantastic for watercolor. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different brushes, really big ones down to tiny little ones. And then I also threw in a few specialty brushes like these fan brushes, and there's a few other things like just a knife and stuff. And I have them all in this little easel, which if I show you here, this easel works like this. I think I picked this up at Dick Blick, but I've seen these on Amazon as well. You pull it like this, and it has a little button there, and it holds it like this, and then your brushes can just stand right up, so you can set it out on your table and wherever you are, and your brushes are ready to go. So I had that, and then I have my Swatch Bliss book that I had printed here at Coloring Bliss on watercolor paper, so I was ready to swatch. And in this book I have it split up by brand and type. So like here's all of my sparkle ones. Look at them shine. And I have it on black paper too. Look at them shine. But we're here for the Jane Davenports. So here I'll show you where I've been swatching. The Jane Davenport, where are you?
Is that case in the Amazon shop?
I think so. It's this one that I have is by Heritage Arts. That's the brand. Okay, so let me show you. There's the Paul Rubens. I'm trying to find. Here we are. Okay, so here I've got the Jane Davenport Aqua Pastels, the Bright palette, the Glitz C palette, and now I have the Neutrals palette. And this palette, from what I understand, a lot of you have had it in your Michaels and Hobby Lobbies and stuff for a long time, but mine's been sold out for ages. So this is what these little palettes look like. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I look for in these little palettes. Now, I am not a watercolorist, I am a colorist. So that means I'm not looking for necessarily looking for high quality paint or yeah, I'm not a hoity-toity artist. What I am looking for is watercolor that inspires me. Kind of like the Spectrum Noir markers, how they're packaged together in a set of colors that inspires me. So when I pick up that palette or that box of markers, I can kind of start imagining what I would do with them, right? So in this box, this is the box that I took with me in the rig. It had my Paul Rubens sparkly marker, paints, a few other things for painting. And then I brought these 3 Jane Davenport palettes. I brought the boxes too, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. So we have these 2 palettes. And why I like the Jane Davenport palettes, when you type in Jane Davenport palettes into Amazon, there's another brand that comes up, and now I can't think of the name, but they are packaged almost identically. I think they're coming probably from a similar manufacturer, I'm not sure. But they're in the similar little tin. Love these little tins. The tin themselves inspire me. They have a little thumb ring back here, and the idea is if you were coordinated, you could hold it all in one hand. So you hold it with a hand and you hold this out somehow. I don't know, I'm not a watercolorist, you guys. Something like that, and then you have your brush and your water and you mix and ta-da, but I can't do that. I'm not that coordinated. I have to have it out like that. But these palettes, when I open them up, they inspire me. The colors she gives you, you get this cute little card with a place to swatch, so you know what colors are in them. And the colors just like, they just inspire me. They make me want to start doing something immediately. You know, I'm a purple girl, so this palette was the first one I bought because I'm a purple girl, and it gives you your yellow, blue, your yellow, red, and blue, so you can mix and get oranges or greens. You can do your primary mixing, which is all, you know, watercolor is all about mixing. But then you get these really fun pre-mixed colors, and it just inspires me. And it's small, and you can throw it in any bag, and away you go. It's just so fun. And then because I loved this so much, I decided to get her Glitz C palette. And the Glitz C palette is very different. Look at the different feel. Totally different, more greens, more neutral type colors, much more, oh, it's very different. And then these two on the end are metallic. They're not super metallic, not like the Paul Rubens, very subtle metallic. So if you're looking for it to be super sparkly, you're going to be a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed. So it's much more mellow palette than the other one. So very different feel, makes you want to paint something vintage, makes you want to paint a little city town or something like that, or a seascape, or that kind of thing. So that's this palette here. So that's what I'm looking for in these little palettes, is something that's going to inspire me and make me want to color something specific. And oh, it's just so much fun.
Bobby said a nice comment, says, "Hi Jennifer, I've been looking for videos that would help me with my coloring. I'm so glad I found your channel."
Welcome, Bobby. I hope I inspire you tonight to do something fun. So this is the new palette that I've been looking for. Like I said, it's been sold out here in Utah forever. And I finally caught it at the store, and I had my coupon, and I bought it. And I don't need more paint. There's just no need for it at all. It was totally my full set syndrome kicked in, and my want for it, because it's the same feeling. When I open it up and when I looked at the colors, I knew it would do the same feeling, inspire me to paint something totally different, a new thing. And that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for in these cute little palettes. But you're going to run into all kinds of palettes like this. Adorable little palettes that are going to inspire you. And they're just so much fun. They just make me so happy. So let me show you this palette and how it comes. So if you ever buy one, you know what to do with them. Because it's a little intimidating if you've never bought. Have you seen what these look like the first time? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you've never seen these before, you may be a little intimidated. Look how shiny and pretty. It's like cool. It's like jewelry, and oh my goodness, it's just so girly and fun. But even Steve likes it. He's not a girl. So okay, so it's all fresh and no paint stains. And so here's the card she gives you. And there's a place for us to swatch on with all the names. And then look how fun. It has little wrappers, they're like little pieces of candy we get to unwrap. And she has a little face with a fun name: mango, apple, blueberry, dove, unicorn, raven. All of them have little names. So that's what we get to do now, is unwrap them all and swatch them. And what I have been doing, which I didn't do for these, and that's why I brought the boxes, I was smart enough to save all the wrappers. They're inside these boxes. So I'm going to do that eventually for all of these. But what I did for the Paul Rubens, which I love, I'm going to show you, is I took the wrappers. As I took them off, I put the Paul Rubens wrappers onto the back of my swatch paper like that. So it's a way to keep all that information. So I have a permanent record of the name of each color and any manufacturing information, and it's all on the back of where the colors are swatched. So that's what I've started doing, and I just love having those wrappers there. So I'm going to do that with these wrappers as well. All the wrappers from all of these palettes will be there. So that's my plan. So let's unwrap these and I'll show you how to do it. So much fun. Okay, so what we do, These palettes, actually this whole piece comes out. It just lifts out like that. So you've got two pieces to a palette like this. And then the little, these are called half pans. This size is a half pan, and they're held in by these metal clips, and it holds them down. So you don't have to be afraid of the metal clips. For the first time I did this, I was so gentle with them and precious with them, and then I saw someone else, I can't remember which watercolorist, when she was setting up her palette, she just dove in there, and I was like, oh, I didn't have to be that careful. So what you do is you bend back these little metal clips just like that, and it releases the little half pan. So I'll show you that. See, this is a little metal clip. See how I bent it back? Let me get it at a good angle. There. Now you can see how I bent that clip back. So you just go through and you can bend them all back and release your tiny little treat. Colorful treats. They all get released. And you take them out, and we're going to want to put them back in the right order. So I'm not too worried because I have the order here and the names are all clear. But we're going to want to make sure that we get them back in the right order. Oh, that one's called Vitamin C. How cute. Sand, Buff, Spice. Oh, that one's called Kiss Kiss. That's so cute. Okay. I take all these little colorful treats out. Isn't it just like, it's like candy without the calories. That's what we should call this. Guilt-free calories, except we paid money for it, so it's not truly guilt-free. Okay, then I usually use like an X-Acto knife or something because I want to remove these labels as perfect as possible. And you just get in here and slice them off. And I'm going to save them, and I'll tape them all on another time. We're not going to do that right now because you guys don't want to sit here and watch that process. So save the little labels if you want to do like I'm going to do. Put them back in the box. And then the plastic comes right off. Now some of them, like the Paul Rubens, their little half pans all had, you bring the trash can over for me. We're going to be making a lot of garbage here. The Paul Rubens half pans all had the paint names printed digitally onto the half pans. These ones haven't had the names on them. So what I've been doing is using a Sharpie pen to write the name on so that I don't lose track. And it's been helpful because like these ones I didn't write the names on and I regretted it, but these ones I did, and you can just kind of peek in between and see the names. See, the names are peeking out at you. So we're going to write the name on this end, and this one was Mango. Okay. Mango. This is so hard to write on these, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just for reference. Okay, and then we can look here and we see Mango belongs top left. Put it in so that the name is going to show. And hold it down with your finger and pinch that top down nice and secure on top of that pan. And then you just make sure you got it on good and the pan isn't sliding. And you got one done. So cute. Okay, the next one is Apple. Why are you panting, Rose? Is it warm in here? Hi. Do you want to say hi? So I think I have a video where I do this with all the Paul Rubens. Did we ever upload that video, Steve?
No.
Oh, that one, the plastic came right off with it. Oh, look at that color. So pretty. Okay, so this one is called Apple. A P P L E. Lay it in there and pinch it down. Come on, down you go. Okay. Okay, this one is blueberry. Oh dear, that one's going to be hard to write. Let's see if I can get this off. Oh yeah, it comes right off. Okay, neutral. N. No, that's not neutral. It's blueberry. I was looking at the name of the palette. Blueberry. Let's turn this N into a B. Blueberry there. I didn't make a mistake. Okay. Do you need a drink of water, huh? Pinch that down really good. Oh, there. Okay, now dove. Hey. Okay, so sometimes these labels have a lot of information on them. Jane Davenport's labels don't have a ton of information on them, but they have their name and that pretty little face on it. Sometimes they'll tell you like the pigment colors, and they can be really helpful if you're going to like reorder just one palette. I mean one pan to, if you use up all like Dove and you want to replace just Dove, then if you've saved that information or been careful to rewrite the name onto the pan, then it's really easy to reorder just the one color. So that's why you want to be careful to save this kind of information. And I just lost one of them on the floor. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Okay, next one is Unicorn. I love the names she picks for her products. What do you think, Rose? That's a nice white. Unicorn. So I've been watching some watercolorists on Instagram, and one of the things they've been doing that is so fascinating to me is making their own watercolor. And this one artist has been using different kinds of stones and rocks, and she shaves off some of the rock and then uses a few other ingredients and puts them all together into like a pumice stone, no, not a pumice stone, a mortar and pestle, and mixes them together and creates her own watercolors. And it's so beautiful. Okay, did I throw away that label? I did. Don't do that. This one is called Raven. So I would love to try to make my own watercolor. I have to buy a few ingredients to do that. It's like the binders that hold the pigment together. That's what you have to buy. And I think they sell it like at Blick Art Supply. So I just need to go get that. Okay, there's our first row. They're kind of sliding a bit, so that means I need to pinch this side down a little bit more. See if that did it. It's okay if they slide a bit, but I prefer it when they're nice and tight. Sometimes I can never get it to tighten down. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Okay. Come on. Okay, this one is vitamin C. I wonder why she called the red one. Oh, it's kind of an orange one. Ah, that makes more sense. Okay, vitamin C. Vitamin C. Okay. How are they doing, Steve?
Let's see.
This one's called Sand. Next one is Buff. I love how each girl is different on every little pan of paint. So she sat down and drew every single girl.
Really?
Jane Davenport draws all of them. Buff. Okay. Ooh, very apricot-y color. Spice. So pretty. Ooh, I like that one. Which palette inspires you more, Steve? Out of these three, the bright palette, the glitzy palette, or the neutrals? Spice. As a man,
I think right now the neutrals are.
yeah, I wondered. Okay, this one's called Kiss Kiss. So I'd love to know from you guys, which one is inspiring you more? Kiss Kiss. Make sure that's right. Yep. Okay.
Anushri says the one you're doing right now is likely fall and winter vibes.
Oh, yeah. That blueberry color is so pretty, too. Very fall colors.
Coloring Dad says that lime green is my favorite.
The lime green?
I wonder if he's looking at the one right there. Jiminy? Is that what it
Oh,
says?
that one there on the bright palette.
Yeah, that's a cool color.
Okay, this one is Cocoa. I like how she avoided any kind of like skin tone names and just went for fun names. Like so many of the pencil names like use like skin. Like like she's just like, let's just call them fun things like Mingo and Kiss Kiss. And okay, what was this one? Cocoa. C-O-C-O-A. All right, we've got them all in here now, ready to swatch. All right.
Beverly likes the one you're doing now. Joyce likes the glitzy palette. Angela likes the brights, but I love bright and bold color, she says.
Yeah. Okay, then we take our little tray and we want to put it back in. So let's see, let's make sure we're doing it consistent. So I've been putting it this way.
Now Judith says that the Illustrator markers are refillable and they replace the nibs.
Awesome. If that's the case. Oh no, I'm in trouble. Okay, so Steve, I think I may need some water. Do you mind getting that filled up to maybe like 2/3 full for me? Okay, so I'm going to quickly write the names below each one of my swatch spots. Mango. I switched over to my Staedtler Triplus fine liner just so it's a little bit easier to write some of the names that are longer. Blueberry, dove, unicorn, raven, vitamin C, sand, buff.
Now Judith, also speaking of the Spectrum Illustrator, says these just came out in September because the previous ones had the brush nibs fraying very fast. So they redid them with Japanese brush nibs and re-released them in September.
I heard about that problem. I'm so glad. Spectrum Noir is quite a good company. It's a bigger company, and it's nice to hear that they fixed the problem, that they weren't afraid to say, we made a mistake, we're going to fix it, and we're going to come out with a better nib. Now, the nib looks identical to the Copic nib, so, and both nibs are coming out of Japan, so I don't know, I can't say they're the same nib, but man, do they look identical and feel to me identical. But I can't say they're the same one. Okay, so we're going to prep these little beauties. This is just plain water in this spritzer. I'm going to spray it away from these here. I don't want to re-wet these though. And just get them wet so that they're nice and juicy and ready to swatch.
Denny says it's the same refill for all Spectrum Noir's alcohol markers.
Ah, we were wondering that, weren't we? Okay, let's make sure we are in the screen here so you can see. We're going to swatch in 2 places. Each color is going to be swatched on the little card that I keep in the palette. The palette? What kind of accent was that? In the palette, and then here on my chart. So I'm going to use, that's a good size. This is the number 8 round.
Dawn just donated to the channel.
Dawn, thank you so much.
And by the way, she says, I love any green palette. That's my favorite color, so I'm always drawn to woodsy or sea colors.
So this one here, the glitzy palette, probably is calling your name with these, all the greens here and that one there. Let's see. Okay. So let's start with mango. Now you're going to see this is not watercolor paper here that they've given us to swatch on. This is just a nice cardstock here. So you'll see the difference of how it acts on watercolor paper versus just a cardstock. And then I swatch it into the square with a black line on it because I want to see how translucent the paint is. You'll see like these ones over here. Let me lift it up. These ones over here are the metallic ones, and they're less translucent. You can see how the black line is a little bit hazy at the top, and that's just because the metallic nature of those two right there. So what in a good watercolor, well, that's not true. Typically what people are looking for in a good watercolor paint in the United States is a very translucent watercolor, because then you can get good washes and layers, and that's what you're looking for. So when you swatch watercolor, typically you would put a black line down so that as you wash over it you can see how translucent it is, how it looks on the black. So that's why I have a black line in the middle of all of those swatching squares, so we can judge that for ourselves. Okay. So let's pick up a bit. Oh, it's already drying over here. Let's put a little bit more spray. Okay. Pick up some of the mango. Should have gotten that pinched down even tighter. It's still dancing around in that palette. Okay, so let's swatch on to here first. Cute little swatch. Look how pretty and bright that color is. And then on to here. And then what I usually do is I swatch a line across the top, about 1/3 of the square. And I rinse it off really good. And then using a clean brush that's just wet, I pull it down. And then that lets the white of the paper shine through, and you can see the undertones. Is it more yellowy? Is it more red? Or green? What kind of undertones come out? That's what we're looking for when you do that part of the swatch. Okay, let's do apple. Okay, pick up our apple color. Just like that. Oh, pretty color. So what I'm going to also look at here, once I get these all swatched out, is do I feel like having all 3 palettes is necessary? Are there some that are duplicates between the 3 palettes, or do we have a really good, once you have all 3, do you have a really good array of colors? So now I can set all 3 out and just have lots of fun colors to pick from. That's the next thing I want to look at once we get these swatched. Okay, here comes blueberry. Well, that's a really pretty blue. Seems a little similar to butterfly, but we'll see as it dries down, and we'll see here as the undertone comes out. I didn't need to wash that off, but that's okay. Here we go. About 2/3. Is it similar to blueberry? I mean, to butterfly? Ooh, it has more blue undertone, I think. This kind of had a bit of a green undertone. We'll see as it dries. Okay, Dove. This is our first gray, I think, between the 3 palettes. Oh, wow, that's very opaque. Forgot to go on here first. Not that it matters. That's almost gouache-like. Yeah, that's almost like gouache, that Dove. Interesting. Okay, unicorn is white. White is not a purist watercolorist, doesn't use white. But it's very useful for those of us who aren't purists. You can use it to create a gouache type effect. So now we'll see just how opaque this white is. Can we use it for highlights? That kind of question. Does it have a creamy undertone, or is it more of a bluish undertone? What kind of white is this? Has it got a yellow undertone? These are my questions for that white. Okay, now Raven. Ooh, pretty black. Love a good inky black. Again, is this going to be like a bluish black, or is it going to be more of a browny reddish black? Or very neutral black? I think we're at 8 o'clock. Good thing we're almost done swatching. Let's get these a little wet again. Okay, vitamin C now. Pretty orange color. Oh yeah, that's really pretty.
You're making Danny want to swatch your watercolors that have been sitting there for about a year.
Swatching them is such a great way to get re-inspired by your watercolors, and it's just a fun way to do art. I mean, this is a beautiful piece of art in and of itself. You don't even have to do anything other than this if that's all you want to do. You don't have to create a piece of art, just swatch. That's art. Oh, that makes me want to eat a creamsicle, that orange.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I ever use a really pretty orange, doesn't matter if it's a crayon or watercolor or color pencil, it makes me want to have a creamsicle. Okay, sand. It totally looks like sand, like on a beach. Okay, let's see if this is another one that's going to be like a gouache more than a watercolor. Okay. Oh, I washed off again. I don't need to. Yeah, this one's not as gouache as the Dove one was. It's more transparent. That's good. Rinse that down. So that blueberry is very different from that blue of the butterfly. I was a little worried it was similar to that butterfly color. I'll hold it up so you can see all the colors here in just a second. Okay, buff.
How many palettes does she have?
I think just 3, but I'm not positive. I know she's talked about doing another palette. Okay, pick up a little bit more buff. You can tell she's had to add white to the Dove, and this buff seems a little like it's got some white in it too, so they feel more gouache. That's a real word, gouache. We've talked about gouache on this channel before. Gouache is a really neat watercolor type product, but it's more opaque than typical Western watercolor is. Okay, spice. Wow, it's so pretty. Yeah, that one's got white in it too. So this is definitely her, the least translucent of her paints. Excuse me, my nose is starting to run. Okay, there's spice. Ooh, I really like that color.
I know Sheree thinks you should make a t-shirt with all your made-up words.
That would be fun. Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, and Deanna says there are only 3 palettes so far.
Okay, I was right. That's good, because if she had more, I'd be wanting to buy them. just hang in there, Jane. Don't make another one for a little while. My budget can't let me buy more right now. Okay, there's Kiss Kiss. Oh, that's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. Okay. It reminds me of some pumpkin spice type color. That's what that color reminds me of. Pretty. Okay, wash it down. One more. And then I'll hold it up so you can see all 3 palettes. And then I want everyone to vote and tell me which one is your favorite. Bright, glitzy, or neutrals. I don't know if I'll be able to pick a favorite. I think it's like mood. Which one would, right now, if you had to pick one, which one would you be in the mood for? That's a better way to say it, because I don't think you could pick a favorite. At least I couldn't. Okay, cocoa is also very opaque. I forgot to do it over here.
GCarAQ asked, you ever fear that the undertones might get manipulated by the watercolor that you rinse the brush in?
I did a video a while back on how to wash out your watercolor, how to wash out your brush. It's a really short little video. And if you do it right, you can get your brush almost totally clean, where there's almost no color in it. So no, but I do get pretty dirty. If I'm doing something where I'm really worried about it, I have 2 jars of water going. So I'll wash it out really good, and then I'll dry it off like this and then dip into the clean water. So if you are concerned about that, then a 2nd jar of clean virgin water is a good idea to do it that way. But if you look here how dirty this water is, and then I go to my paper towel, there's no sign of pigment there, so it works really well. I don't have to worry about a 2nd typically. So, oh, I need to hurry and activate this before it dries on me here. So go watch that little video. It's really short, and it talks about something like my favorite watercolor trick, I think is what it's called. And it talks about how to properly rinse your brush and where I learned the proper technique for rinsing your watercolor brush. I know that seems really silly, and I talk about that in the video. That how learning to wash your brush is so important, and that I didn't learn for the longest time the proper way to wash your brush. And once I learned, it was like life-changing. So, all right, so I put my brush back into the case. Technically, just so you know, technically you're supposed to dry your brush this direction, not this direction, because the water will travel down your bristles and through this, I can't think of the name. I can never remember the name of this part. Anyway, it travels down and gets to the wood and can warp your wood. So if you ever invest in one of those $20 or $30 brushes and you want to keep that really nice for like ever, dry your brushes upside down, and then that keeps the water from ever reaching the wood of your brush. So that's the technical way to dry your brush. Yeah, these are not that expensive, and I'm not that concerned. So I just dry it. I make sure that I reform the tip of the bristles so that they hold their shape really nice, and then I put them back in the case so they can dry in the air. I don't close the case up until the brushes have dried. That's how I do it. Okay, so if you had to pick right now which one inspires you, the mood, which one for your mood right now would be your favorite? The bright, the glitzy, or the neutrals? And as you guys are voting, I'm going to look at them really close. I'm going to hold it up here, get my face out of the way so you can look too. And what I'm looking for is, are there duplicates between the palettes, or do I feel like we've got, let's see, there's 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, there's 12, so do we have 36 distinct colors? That's what I'm looking for while you guys are voting. Definitely, there was no gray, there was no black or white in any of them. How about yellows? Do we have, yeah, 3 very distinct yellows. What about reds? The reds are all very distinct. Browns, they look very distinct. I think we have 36 distinct colors. Do you see any, Steve, that are duplicates? The blues, I would think the blue maybe is the closest. That blueberry and the butterfly. But the undertones are very different.
Yeah.
the top color is similar, but the undertones are totally different in those two blues. So that's really cool to me, how distinct all three palettes are. So I think I could, you know, definitely tell you, you could collect all three palettes and come away with 36 very distinct colors. So that's cool to me. I was a little worried.
Brights right now is inspiring her.
Okay, so this palette right here for Tika.
Denny, the glitzy. Anna, glitzy. Beverly really likes the neutrals.
Like Steve.
Carter likes bright. Right now, Dawn's mood is for the neutrals.
The neutrals. Isn't that cool?
Jade Carr says glitz all the way. Those greens are just delicious.
Yeah.
Taryn brights, Angela brights. Uh-oh, Kelly says another FSS coming up.
That's the way I was.
Diane bright, Janice neutrals.
Yep. I had to have all three palettes too.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
Yeah. So there's something about these little palettes that really inspire me. I think also the fewer colors. Like sometimes I don't pull out all three. I just bring out one. And then I sit down to the thing I'm going to color. Like I have some mandalas printed on watercolor paper. And if you bring out just one of these palettes and sit down to just one mandala to paint it, it's very relaxing. You don't have 36 or 100 colors to pick from. You just have 12. And you just sit down and paint that mandala. And it's so soothing and relaxing because some of the color decisions have been made for you already. And you just get to mix and enjoy.
I wonder why she picked the colors that she did, you know.
She has some videos where she talks a little bit
Those
about
are
it.
really fun names. I had never read through a lot of them.
Yeah, really fun, like Ladybug and Buzzy and Ariel. These ones are all like sea names because it's glitzy. So it's like Tresses and Ariel and Water Spirit. Anyway, she's really fun. Jane Davenport's really fun to follow on Facebook. Her group is really fun too because they do like mixed media art. If you've ever been, that's another one that triggers my full set syndrome is mixed media type art. But I don't. Oh dear, that's another whole thing that would just more products to buy that I don't have the room for or the time for. So I'll just stay in my little coloring world for now. Where I don't have very many products. So. I'm good. I'm really good right now where I'm at. So that's my theory on watercolor palettes. You can go for a really big one, I've got some big ones that have a whole bunch of colors that you have lots of choices, or you can try this kind of palette where you've got just a very select few all curated for you with a pre-selected set of colors to inspire you. That's a really fun way to go. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. The Jane Davenport palettes are a little bit pricey, so I encourage you to look for a deal like at Michael's or Hobby Lobby with your little coupon. That's the best way I have found to purchase them. Once in a while they go on sale on Amazon, so watch for that. There are other palettes that look identical to these. It's a different brand, but they are the same idea. It's like a curated set of colors, and they are roughly half the cost of Jane Davenport ones. So you could look for those. I don't know the quality of the paints or anything like that. Just read the comments. But if you're like me and quality isn't the highest concern, it's more about getting a little palette that inspires you, that you can drop in your supplies, and then all you really need is like a little water brush and this palette and a paper towel, and you're painting. You can do that anywhere. You could maybe even sneak and do it in a doctor's office and you're painting right then and there. So that's a pretty cool little setup. Everything you need. So that is we've gone over by 20 minutes. Not too bad. I thought we would go way over if we got into this. So like I said, my plan is to take all those little labels that I saved and tape them to the back of this page that I just swatched on. And then I'll have all of that all in one place. So pretty cool. So I hope you got inspired, and maybe you'll pull out some of your watercolor and do something fun like that. So thank you for joining me today. I think we learned a lot about two very different products, alcohol markers and watercolor paints. So thank you for having fun with me. Thank you to all those of you who donated to our channel tonight. It was so generous of you. And I hope you all have a wonderful, colorful, blissful night. Bye-bye, everyone.